Hey guys, it's Tana. Welcome to my channel and to the Save the Crafty YouTuber video hub. I'm honored to be a part of this celebration of such a talented community of crafters. We've come together today to give our viewers a chance to discover some amazing card makers you might not know about and support the ones you already know and love, all of them with different styles and levels of crafting. Watching and hopping along helps this community reach their monetization goals and gives you chances to win some great prizes from some of us YouTubers and all those wonderful sponsors. Just watch, like, and consider subscribing. Then click the link below to hop to the next video. Don't forget to comment. You don't have to comment on every video, but the more you do, the greater your chances of winning. Be sure to add USA or International to your comment. Some prizes are physical and have restrictions. So we have a regular white panel of cardstock here, and we're going to put some embellishment mousse on it, Nouveau embellishment mousse in lemon sorbet. I did do two panels. The second one I used lilac lavender, but I did not end up using those sentiments in this video. Now I'm going to show you guys a technique I learned in a stencil class that I took a couple months ago. I think it was last month. I drove all the way to Delaware to a neat and tangled stencil class, and this was one of the many techniques we learned that day, but it's one of my favorites and I wanted to share it with you guys. So I have 4 piles of Ranger texture paste here. The first one's going to remain white, and I'm just adding a little bit of iridescent liquid watercolor to it. This liquid watercolor came in a previous Hero Arts kit that I received, and I just wanted to give that white a little bit of glimmer. Your piles can be smaller than this. They don't look very big on screen, but they actually have a lot of texture paste in each one. I end up having extra. I don't like to waste it, so you'll see what I do with that in a minute. That second color there, that pastel purple, is Avriel's Sugar Plum liquid watercolor. And that third pile is Mint to Be, also by Avriel. I'm not an expert with watercolors. In fact, the only one I owned was that one you just saw me use, which is Hero Arts Dark Teal. I ended up buying the 2 Avriel liquid watercolors when I decided to do this video. So you're going to take your 4 piles and you're just going to split up your colors across your card panel. Tape any stencil you want to it. I decided to use Exploding Blocks. That's the name of the stencil, and it's by Neat and Tangled, because I'll be able to use a lot of the texture paste on it, and there's not a lot of stencil covering my panel. I really like the way this panel turns out. It has a good blend of colors in it. Excuse me, I sound like I'm getting a cold here. So you're just going to start smoothing out your paste and blending your colors in, but you don't want to blend them too much and smooth them out too much, because you want to see a distinction of color when you blend them. You just kind of want them to blend into each other but still have separation. If you get too much of one color on the bottom of your palette knife, you can just wipe it off on a paper towel and keep going. And you're just going to keep doing that across the entire thing. Now, I do have removable double-sided tape on the back of that card panel to keep it on my glass mat, and then I used some 1/2-inch Thermoweb purple tape to hold my stencil down. Oh, excuse me. So I'm almost done smoothing mine on here, and I end up knowing that I have an excess. I had an excess. So I took another card panel there, and that stencil is from an old Hero Arts kit. It's actually the December 2017 Hero Arts kit, which I did check, and it was sold out. They did not have the stencil as a regular product to buy, so I couldn't link to it. I just took all the extra paste off the stencil, the original stencil, off the glass mat and around the glass mat, smoothed it onto that second panel, and then I just took some extra texture paste out of the jar to just cover in and fill in the empty spaces. And it ends up looking like a sky with white puffy clouds. That's what it reminds me of, a summer sky. So I really like the way that second panel turned out. And here's a little shout out to our sponsors today. To help celebrate, I'm going to give away a $25 gift card on my channel to any one of our sponsors' sites. It'll be winner's choice, any gift card that can be purchased online from one of those sponsors and emailed to the winner. And the reason I'm doing that is so that it allows me to include both USA and international viewers for my giveaway so that everybody has a chance to win. Once the winners are announced, I'll have that person email me with their choices, or their choice, I'm sorry, and then I'll be able to purchase it and send them the code for the certificate in their email. I just trimmed down the panels to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to take those 2 panels that were covered in embellishment mousse and that are now dry. Well, maybe they're dry. As you're about to see, the one that was lilac lavender was dry and those sentiments cut out with no problem whatsoever. That second panel, however, the lemon sorbet, I thought was dry and it wasn't. Please, 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 from experience, make sure, double check, triple check that your panel's dry. That first word, the smile, came out perfect, but this best wishes here, I had to fight that thing out of the die. I had embellishment mousse stuck to my die. I ripped the sentiment itself, which kind of sucked because I really wanted to use that one on this card, but I couldn't, so I ended up using the word smile. The other sentiment was not salvageable. And I'm going to use Wow White Pearl Embossing Powder on the word smile, but we're not going to do it once, we're going to do it 3 times. I'm using my Simon Says Stamp embossing pad here, and there's the White Pearl Embossing Powder. So 3 times to give it a nice like shine, but it's a tinted shine. It's not like clear embossing powder. I really like the way it layered an additional tint onto that yellow sentiment. And the 3 layers of embossing powder gives it a thickness and gives it dimension without adding layers of cardstock underneath, like the usual layered word dies that I usually do. These little spoons here, I picked them up in the Dollar Tree in the little party section where they keep little clear fruit cups and stuff like that. They definitely come in handy for embossing powder. Oh man, excuse me. I feel like I need to cough. I'm trying to hold it in. I wanted to tell you guys, make sure I mentioned it in the video, this is my very first time doing a voiceover and only my second time editing a video, so you'll have to excuse me if I stumble with my words a little bit. I can't tell you how many times I redid this voiceover before I decided on a final one, and I hope my editing turned out okay. I mean, I thought it looked okay, but I'll get better as the time goes along. I used the heart wafer dies from Simon Says Stamp. It's got the word heart and then it has a shadow to go behind it. And I cut out the word heart 3 times on regular cardstock and once using pixie dust glitter cardstock from Lawn Fawn. That's going to be the top layer on that one. And on the first panel, the exploding blocks, I used my foam tape so that this one can be popped up on my card base, which is Simon Says Stamp's Fog 100-pound cardstock. That's what I used for that first card base. The word smile is going to be right in the center there, but it's not going to be straight. I'm going to tilt it a little bit, just at a slight angle, because I am horrible at making things even and straight and centered. That stuff eludes me sometimes, especially if it's late at night. But I like the way it looks when I tilt it onto the card base. It's just a little slight tilt. And that tittle, I'm pretty sure that's what the dot of an eye is called, was elusive. It was definitely elusive. It kept sticking to the mat because it had those layers of embossing powder on it. but I finally got it on there. So we're going to set that aside to dry with an acrylic block on the top of it, but it doesn't take long. I love my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive because it just, you just got to hold it for a second and it sets enough to leave it alone. Then I pulled out my Zig 2-way glue pen with the fine tip so I could layer up all those heart words one on top of the other with the glittered cardstock one on the top. That pixie dust glitter cardstock from Lawn Fawn is so shimmery and sparkly, and it has like these iridescent shades of color in it when you tilt it. I just love it. It's my favorite glittered cardstock. And I think I already said that. That's how much I like it. I'm just taking some 1-inch double-sided tape here, just some stuff I picked out of the $1.99 bin at Joann's. I think it's called Miss Sparkle and Company. And just covered the back of that second panel. That one's going to go flat to the card base, and for that one I use a Nina 110-pound card base. Everything I'm using here today, all the major stuff, will be linked below. I didn't do stuff like my tweezers, but I did all the actual products that were used on the cards. I took my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle frames and I cut out the largest frame, once again out of the pixie glitter cardstock, or pixie dust glitter cardstock, excuse me. And then I took my foam tape and doubled up the layer, cut it into 1/4 inch strips, and then cut it into 1/8 inch strips because I want the frame to have no foam tape sticking out from it whatsoever. I didn't want to be able to see it when I was looking down at the card. And since that frame is only 1/4 inch wide, it had to be an 1/8 inch strip. I set that aside and took just a black piece of 110-pound cardstock that I picked up from Joann's. It's by Park Lane Papery. I also have their white 110-pound cardstock, which I will be doing a paper review on my channel coming up soon, because I'm trying to find alternate versions of the more expensive stuff. You know, not for everything, but for some things. I took the Take Heart stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, which I received in a kit, but it is available on their website separately. And I took the sentiment, I love your kind, and we're going to heat emboss that with Wow's Superfine Bright White Embossing Powder. That is my favorite white embossing powder to use for sentiments. After I heat emboss that, I just used a damp cloth to wipe all the excess powder from the embossing buddy bag from the sentiment strip itself. That sentiment strip was also cut out with Neat and Tangle's skinny strips dies. I love those things. I always had a hard time cutting small sentiments into even strips, and those things just solve that problem for me right off the bat. They're probably in my top 10 used tools ever since they came out. So, this frame, you guys, this frame gave me such a hard time. I probably edited out about 3 minutes of video with me messing with this frame. It was so flimsy because it had no stability in the middle, and I just couldn't get it on there straight, and it took me forever. It really did. I glued the heart sentiment onto the vellum using the 2-way glue pen again, and then I took my Nuvo adhesive and used that on the back of the vellum before I adhered it to the card. I'm just going to set an acrylic block on that. I'll go back to the first card and we're going to put some Nuvo Dream Drops on it. I love these things. They are my favorite Nuvo drops now. I love that they're self-leveling. I can just put the drops on and the next day they will be all perfect and equal and self-leveled. It's just wonderful. So that first card just has 3 dots in the bottom right, 3 in the top left, and those were done in Indigo Eclipse. That second card has Dragon Scales Dream Drops, and I just started at the end of the word heart and did a little flourish of a line underneath. There's a close-up of that card, and there's a close-up of the smile card. Here's some other cards with other techniques. That one has the sentiment and alcohol inked background. This one has an entire foiled background behind the texture paste. This one has some gold foil flakes on it and an alcohol inked sentiment. And this one has the sentiment as the focal point, and the entire thing is covered in foil. I want to thank Justine Hovey for all her hard work in bringing us all together, and also to the sponsors. Don't forget to hit the link for the next video below. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Bye bye for now.